this person was talking, and they said that basically they had, they were a writer and they had published books. So they're an author. And they were talking on radio about their books, and then later on they got approached by this woman who went, oh, I found one of your books at the library. It was really interesting. Tracy's got to straighten that out because she's got OCD. And, if I didn't know any better, I'd think you were a real writer.
Ouch.
Yeah, ouch. And yeah, we were basically talking that's kind of indicative of how people view all startup entrepreneurial efforts, where they see it as a hobby, or they don't see it as being entirely as a job or as a real effort, because, well, for authors, if you're not traditionally published, you're not an author, quote unquote, even though there are plenty of indie authors out there making livings at it, making more than some of the traditional published authors out there.
And creating more
books,
on a regular basis instead of one every year or one every 3 years. So they're working harder at it, the actual writing process.
Well, especially at the beginning, you really are. You're hustling to get your business off the ground.
And they're doing all the extra work of doing their own advertising, publishing, and all that stuff.
Marketing,
or finding people to work with for it.
Yeah.
And then you really have to sell your books.
And that's the way it is with any entrepreneurial effort. When you're just starting something up and you're really working hard at it, and people are like, "Aw, that's a sweet hobby.
You've been paying for it?
You're doing so well. I almost thought you had a real business."
Yeah.
To people who think that way, stop, please.
Yeah, get off the bandwagon.
Yeah,
that's how we feel.
Yeah, she's growling. Because we don't really need that condescending tone that we're working on it. We are trying to make this a real business. We are doing our hardest. We are putting in more hours than you are at your regular job. And
usually,
it just, us poor entrepreneurs out there don't need that attitude on top of it. Like, we really don't. These are legitimate businesses. Mm-hmm. Many of them have business licenses. Many of them are incorporated. They have their LLC or whatever they need to do depending what country they're in. Many people are working really hard to make these contacts. Some people are finally raking in money. Some people aren't.
Usually it's great content and great products, and it's just because you're not doing the exact traditional way doesn't mean you're not still
legitimate.
Yeah. Not going through the regular publishers, so therefore you're not for real. Well, I guess I can publish my own piece of crap too, but if it doesn't sell,
yeah,
then it wouldn't
right?
have been at the libraries unless it's
just because you're an indie author does not mean you're not legitimate. Just because you're seen as a legitimate business because you have been doing it the traditional way doesn't mean that your business is any better than the other businesses that are doing stuff in a non-traditional way.
I think maybe because you work so hard to get a publisher to finally sign you, that people give it that attention, and that the sales, they drive all of the sales and sort of marketing and
to me, basically for a traditional publisher, it's basically that some larger company has decided that you are worth investing their time and their money in, which is great. But not all of us choose to go to that avenue. I didn't even submit to a traditional publishing house. I chose not to, for a variety of reasons. I prefer having control over my business. And control freak. Yes. Impatient control freak. Yeah. But that's me, and I just sit back and go, well, it's cool, but I love being an entrepreneur, so that was part of the allure for me, so I never even submitted. And I'm not saying that I would get picked. I'm not, that conceited, because there are thousands of people every year applying to each and every publishing house, so, hundreds of thousands some places, so I'm sure that they're very busy choosing what to publish and what not to publish. I think if you were trying to be an entrepreneur, and to me, it's a hobby if you're not making money.
I was just going to say maybe because you get paid, that's real.
But I don't want to say it that way either, because a lot of businesses don't make money in their first 5 years. they don't. A lot of businesses go under in their first year.
And that's a shame, because I suppose.
It's
but
tenacity. I think a lot of it's tenacity about whether you're going to be successful or not. Because if you put in the time and the effort, you usually can make it. But I just want to say that entrepreneurs are legitimate, and that we should treat them as such.
Because the world is a lot of entrepreneurs.
Mom and pop businesses make up a lot of businesses. It used to be that the small business was the normal business, was pretty much the only business.
Yeah.
It's only been corporate America in the 1950s that really, really pushed that, if you don't belong to a big company, you're not making it. You're not, taken care of by the man. You're not working for the man.
Yeah, the Fortune 500 companies are the only where CEO,
legitimate
that
ones,
means something.
Yeah. But I also think we're seeing a reemergence of entrepreneurs, especially in the digital age. But with the digital age, there's that opportunity for everybody to become entrepreneurs and to move forward with it.
And there are some, ideas that are maybe shouldn't happen, but try.
Yeah, a business is a business, right?
Isn't it good to fail a few times so that you can learn which way
you're supposed to fail
and learn and become something?
If you're not failing, you're not trying. You're in your safe zone. If you're in your safe zone, you're taking zero risk. If you're not taking any risk, you're not growing. You're supposed to fail. Plan to fail. And also plan to eventually succeed. Yes. Because you learn from your failures. If you're not failing, you're not learning. You're not growing. I have no idea how we're going to muddle that into a video.